Hello and welcome back to David Lake from RC. This is the 52cc pocket bike build. Basically like a top-end build, performance oriented type build. We didn't split the case or anything. And we won't be doing a timing key on here. That's your prescription of all. But we always have to start off with coffee, because this is the most important thing of all. So, what I'm going to show you here is when you get your pocket bike engine, as I always tell you, to tear it down, on your carburetor, if you're not getting full throttle, your machine is not going to perform well. So, like this one's got full throttle on her. What you need to do, there's a spring inside of here. You take these two screws off, and on the top, the spring's got a little line in it. Well, on the other side, what you need to do is you need to cut 2 rounds of the spring off, and then kind of bend it back around. That way it will seat down in it properly. But just stretch it out a little bit more and put it back in there and just fiddle around with it until you can get full throttle, because that's what I had to do with mine. And now we got full throttle. So that's the whole reason. So like if you open your carburetor up and it's only going right about there, you're not getting full throttle, because that spring is doing what's called a coil bind. So the whole spring basically is just bunching up all together right into here. So you need to cut 2 rounds off of it, tweak it back down. Be careful, this piece up here, it's plastic, it's got a slotted line in it, it's plastic. Excuse me. And what you might want to do is you might want to take some like some glue, maybe some like, oh geez, I can't think right now. Maybe it's like some hot glue, or even some like just some kind of glue to get in there, and push it down inside that slot. But be careful, don't wallow it out, because if you wallow it out too much, it won't stick. I don't know why they didn't make that out of aluminum. I don't have any idea. There's a lot of things on this motor I don't know why they did, but that's what we got to work with. Another thing on this is this inlet for the fuel. You're going to have to take it off and flatten it down with a file, and you can clean it up with a little bit of a drill bit. I did a size up jet on this one here. I just drilled it to the next size just to give it a little bit more fuel. You don't have to do that. That's just what I did. Next thing, in the occurrence of things, we've got some studs we put in here. You can get these on Amazon. They're called Unixcell. It's UXCELL. They're 304 stainless steel. They're 6mm. These are 6 by 100. What you got to do in order to put these in here is you got to cut 10mm off of them. And then all you do, before you even do that, get your 6mm tap by 1. You pick these up at Ace or Lowe's or Home Depot, wherever you want to go, and just put them in here. Clean your threads out. If you're going to do it this way, I would highly tell you to block this off with some paper and some tape, and so you don't get any kind of metal shavings down inside your engine, or just take it all the way down. And then just run them in and out of those threads with some oil. Make sure you blow them out, clean them out. You can use some isopropyl alcohol to clean them, or carburetor cleaner, or whatever you want to use. Now wash them out really good. Make sure all your parts are clean. Make sure these threads are clean. Make sure this has no oil on it. Then what you're going to want to do, you want to get you 2 6mm nuts and a lock washer. This is the way I do it. Other people might do it differently. What you need to do on the longer threaded end, because the shorter end is going to go in the case, is run those nuts down on here just a little bit. The lock washer in here, like this on here, and then you just grab it, pair of pliers, and a 10mm. Just want to tighten it down until it stops, like that. Then you get your some 271 Loctite thread locker. Put a little bit on here. I usually kind of go around the whole thing, kind of literally put it on there pretty good. Kind of get it around all on the threads. And then what you do, you put it up in here, and you thread that sucker in there. Make sure you get it straight. Don't make sure it lines up or anything. Screw that sucker on down in there until it stops. Don't go anymore. Don't put a whole bunch of torque on it, because that thread locker, I'm going to tell you, you'll have a hard time getting these out if you're going to do this mod. 304 stainless is pretty tough. I don't think you're going to have any problems with threads or anything. But just right when it down stops. That's it. That's all you want to do. Get the rest of this shit on here. Get it all cleaned off of there, because we're going to have to put our gasket on there in a minute. These take 10 minutes to heat up. And it's, I think it's 24 hours to cure. I previously did the other ones the other day to just to save a little time. It's not going to stop the build or anything. So, the time we get done doing the annealing on the head gasket, which I'm going to show you what that is, and putting everything else back together on this thing, it'll be fine. Probably won't get around to putting the reed valve on the bottom, but I just kind of wanted to show you this mod here. And just kind of make sure they're evenly spaced. Kind of look at them, they're all pretty much even, more or less. The reason why you do studs versus bolts, because studs have a better clamping force than bolts. So more or less when you bolt something, you stretch it, and more or less when you put your heads on, more or less you're clamping it down, more or less. So they have it has a better torque value. A lot of cases, like if you if you don't blow out your cylinder holes when you put your head bolts in, and you leave oil or water down inside the head bolt holes, and you actually start torquing that down on there, what it can do is it's called what it does is it'll actually make like a hydraulic type setup, more or less, and it'll actually get to the weakest point in the bottom of the hole if there's a crack or a little hairline crack or something from inside the case, and it can actually fracture the case, believe it or not, from all the pressure that you torque down on it. So anytime you do head bolts, man, if you're going to just use bolts or studs or whatever, make sure you blow them things out with compressed air, because it'll damn near ruin your case, and you'll have this water leak, and you'll be like, what's going on, or whatever. So another little tip I want to tell you. So these are on here. This is pretty much wiped off. I got some little wipes here we're going to use to wipe that off. Going to get our gaskets and stuff down. We'll wipe this off here. So, next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to put our head gasket on. You could put the head gasket straight down on there, but you just make sure this case gasket that they had put on here previously is not sticking up or anything. I like to use this Permatex Moto seal. It helps with sealing. You can get it at Napa or Lowe's or anywhere. Just put a little bit on your work surface. I got this piece of cardboard from something we got. Won't need much of that stuff. We'll get this stuff on you. It's really bad. It'll give you some really killer headaches and stuff too. I already know. Get your little paintbrush. Dab a little bit on there. There. You're just going to want to lightly go over this. Don't glob it on here. You're not trying to go in this space or anything. We're just trying to stick it on there. Not trying to make another base gasket or anything. Nice little thin layer. We just want to stick that gasket down on there so when we put that cylinder down on there, it has no chance of leaking. That's all this is for. It's just extra insurance, is all it is. On a 2-cycle motor, I think extra insurance is always good. This video is going to be kind of lengthy. I'm trying to show you all some different stuff here. We'll try to get it down inside the pocket in there either. Put around those head bolts. The brush works really good for the head bolts and stuff. Gotta let this dry for just a hair so it'll kind of set up. You can stick your gasket down in there. More or less, don't try to get it down in here. If you do, you just wipe it out. No big deal. Then we're going to put our head gasket on there. I always call this the grain side, so I'm going to put the grain side down. Just make sure it's going the right way. It doesn't really look like it really matters. And if you got these studs, just be easy with it. Don't push it down too much at a time to get past these threads. You can always just kind of squeeze these in a little bit. It's not going to hurt them. And just push it down little by little so you don't rip your head gasket. I should call it the base gasket. Is what it is. Just grab it on the corner with your fingers. Be real gentle with it, just to get it past. And then once it gets past, it should go on down, just like that. Move her right out of the way. We're going to seat her down in her new home. Just kind of push her down, real easily. She's down. Okay. For extra insurance, if you want to do. We can take some more of the Moto seal and put it on that layer. Give us a little bit more insurance. We can put it on the bottom down here. Maybe we'll put it here. Because the next step is we need to put the rings on the piston. And we need to put the piston on here. And then we're going to put it in the cylinder. Before that, I'm going to show you something. We polish the top of the piston here. Take some 60 grit or some 80 grit, kind of go over it, and just start going up higher on the grit, just to polish it up. All that is when it fires, it just kind of makes it flow out a little easier instead of grabbing all those little rough spots on the bottom of the piston. If you run a good grade oil like a Castrol 927, You won't have much carbon buildup. This is natural. This is not man-made. It's made from a castor bean. I highly recommend that oil. It's not that much more than regular oil. You can get it at Walmart or whatever. So what I'm going to do, make sure this is down. See, it looks pretty good. Then, I'm going to do it again. We're going to take some more of that stuff in a second. Let's see what I need to do. Pull this clip out of here. Clips out. Alright. First thing I want to do, I got the standard head gasket with the motor. I believe it's this one. And then I got this head gasket with the kit. So this is the one we're going to be annealing. Annealing, what it does is it takes the properties of the head gasket and makes it more malleable, more pliable. So this is one here is kind of stiff more or less. So what it does is when you heat it up red hot and you drop it in some cold water, what it does is it changes the properties of the head gasket. And you just take it back out of the water. You could use a little Scotch-Brite if it's got some scale on it to kind of shine it back up. Then what it does is it makes it softer, so then that way when you put your cylinder, it goes on here on your cylinder, and then you put your one piece on here. When you get ready to torque it down, it'll keep you from having a head gasket blow out. If you just put it on there regular, there's a good chance that you might get a gap in there and it might blow out. Although that being said, with studs, you're going to have a real good clamping force, so there's always more measures to back yourself up. So it's always a good thing to do stuff like that. It's always better to back yourself up, because like this motor, as I said in my one previous video, I don't want to tear it down most of the times this year. I just want to put it together, put it in the car, and let's just run it however long it takes to wear it out. That's what we're going to do with this motor. So I wanted to try to go over it and make it really good this time to show you how we're doing this. Alright, let's put a little bit more of that motor seal on this gasket. More or less it can just lightly change the color here. All you want to do, because you got the sealing power from that and from that there. See, on the pocket bike motors, they're actually cylinder holding these engines a little bit better now. You can buy a cylinder hone. You can get one for like a brake hone or a small engine hone. In a minute I'll show you what that is if you don't have any idea what that is. It's always a good measure to kind of cylinder hone it, put some crosshatch in the cylinder. If you're not really mechanically inclined, you could probably take it somewhere. Pretty sure a lot of my viewers are pretty mechanically inclined. But if you're not, that's okay. That's fine. If you're just learning, hey, come on. I don't care. I'm just trying to give some tips away before the great inevitable. It's going to probably be a long time. So. Okay. This is a cylinder hone. This is probably for like a brake hone or whatever. And all you do is you can stick it down inside your cylinder. squeeze these together, stick it down inside there. I always usually like piston in there, because you can't really go down too far with this one because the teeth are not so wide. It's cross-hatched pretty good, as you can see. It's got little cross hatches in it there. It usually makes better power up top. Is what you really want to worry about. Just so it has a little bit of a cross hatch in it. So you just go around in a circle, put some oil in there, put it on your drill, kind of go back in and out of, kind of go down, back up, down, back up, down, back up. Pull it out of there. Wipe the oil out of it. You're going to kind of get like this gray slurry that looks like on it. Wipe it off really good. And what it does is, I don't know in the camera if you can see it. You see those cross hatches in there? It just puts these little lines in it, more or less. And all that does is it makes it easier for the piston rings to grab and seat into the cylinder. That's all that does. Okay, moving on. Move this sucker up. Right. So, I'm going to grab a little, I had a syringe out here. Bam. I'm going to grab a little of my bean oil. This is some good 2-cycle oil right here, guys. Really good 2-cycle oil. Alright. Let me just put some more here. Let me get some on these bearings here. I'll put some on the bearings. Got a fun fact for you. The caster bean, they get arsenic from the caster bean. And this oil's been processed, pretty much all the arsenic's out of it. But if you just took the castor bean and ground it up and put it in somebody's drink, you'd probably kill them. And it's bad shit. The castor bean is bad shit, but I don't think this oil would hurt you. And that's another thing, castor. Castor back in the day, they used castor for bow lube, to lube up your bowels to make you go. So the old castor oil back in the day, you drink castor oil and it makes you poop. Some fun facts. Learning a little bit of facts today. So we're going to stick this thing here, roller bearing, inside of here. Alright, goes there. Usually put a lot of oil in this engine anyhow before you cycle it over. We're going to put some oil inside the cylinder. Come on. A little bit of oil inside the cylinder. Just to help the rings seat up and all. And all I'm going to do a video to show you, on one of my videos I'm going to do is show you the different properties of the castor oil versus regular conventional 2-cycle oil. And that ought to be a pretty good video. Okay, next we need to put the rings on. These rings, usually rings have a little dot on them to tell you which one goes first and second and whatever, but these don't really have dots on them or anything. I think they're both the same, because they're the ring glands, these are ring glands, are the same. You can always check them like this. They're both snug. One's not different than the other, so you got to be really careful putting these on, and they only go on one way. So they got a little slit in them. They're cut at an angle, and you got a pin. There's a pin. There's a pin. So what do? Gently pry these apart. Kind of like pinch them. What I usually like to try to do, grab them, pull them apart. See, it goes down in the first ring, so what you're going to have to do Just gently pulls apart. If you've never done this before, you might want to get you another set. See, move it down, pry it apart, move it down, and kind of push it down. There, it's down there. So that one there will go there. So when you squeeze this together, see, it makes the whole, see the bottom part, see the pin? So it makes it a whole thing, one unit. And we're going to do that with the top. We're going to oil this piston too. So we're going to put this one on top and pry it apart a little bit, get down in that first groove. Boom. There we go. There she is. Alright. So on the piston, usually the piston has an arrow. And on that arrow goes towards the exhaust. It always gets to the exhaust, no matter if it's down or up. We run our cylinders up, so the piston's going to go up. Easy way of doing this is, whatever direction you're going to, just leave one of your clips in, and then we're just going to feed the pin through there. Just put this down on here. Take your pin, put it in your piston, and then the roller bearing, it's got to go on your roller bearing. Takes a little time. Just easy with it. It'll go in, just like that. Just push it on in, all the way down in there until she stops. Make sure it's all the way down. Take your clip. This is your retainer for your wrist pin. It's got a groove in it down there on the bottom and inside the piston, right in front of the pin. You just put the longer edge, this edge right here, down inside the piston. Like that. And then you want to grab the other side, put your finger, usually what I do is put my finger there and kind of push, and it'll fall right down in place. Then, what I always do, it's not seated all the way just yet. I usually have another piston pin, what I'll do is I'll push it down on there. But you can just move it down or push it down with a pair of pliers. I'm going to have a straight edge, like a screwdriver, like this one. So it's still raised up right now. Boom, locked down in there. Another good measure is to do is to take it and grab it and see if it spins in there without coming out. Flip it over. Just make sure that one's in there too. Because you don't want this coming out. If that comes out, it'll wreak havoc on the engine. It'll fall down inside the engine. It'll probably destroy the inside of the engine. And then you'll start hearing this tap, 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 tap. And that's the piston pin hitting the side of the cylinder wall. Alright. I'll show you what this is here in a little bit. So what I'm going to do, real quick, let's see if I get this thing turned around. Oh my God. I haven't drinking no coffee yet today. I have not drinking no coffee yet today, guys. I'm not putting this together that way. Maybe I have to sip on that coffee a little bit. I put the piston in backwards on my motor. Put it in together like you would put the regular pocket bike engine together.